but there's got to be a coffee sign. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of ways about it. So that's good. So I think tomorrow let's get on a call and see, talk about the next phase.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll have Patrick Jones sketch out what
a map. Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's much that needs to be done there to.
Yeah, what I'm going to try to do is based off the space that we talked about. Is I'm going to already in my head lay out like equipment, This way, if he gets a layout, I already want to have a list of equipment and power needs and necessities. This way, if it all fits, boom, you know what I mean? Then the contractors know, okay, run this line here, plumbing's already done, water's here, drains here.
Right.
Well, I'm outside at Lavalette. It's nice outside. Al fresco talking tonight.
Great. Good. Yeah, real nice. We ate outside.
So I think that today I was dissecting a little bit this logic. You were talking about being harmony, the I do, right? So today we got the don't do's, right? But you got to remember to do the don't do's. So I'll be open with my situation.
Yeah.
I want to go take.
Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
I go to take a little ride, okay, down to the boat, and then I'm driving like 2 miles an hour down my street, and then the guy's like on his bike, like fixing his bike. My neighbor, like 3 houses down. So like our windows are down. I'm only going 2 miles an hour. I see the guy, but Ioana, my wife, is like, watch the guy. And part of me, I wanted to be like, watch the guy. Like, what else would I be doing? You know what I mean? I'm going a mile an hour, And for a second, I'm telling you, I was out of harmony. And I think that if I continue to kind of do that, I've been pissed off, take a bad boat trip. You know what I'm saying? Like, just fuck up the afternoon. You know what I mean? But instead, I'm like, all right, you know what? Is this really worth it? She just said that. Maybe she's trying to appease the guy because I'm pretty close. Like I was like different logic. So in my mind, I was easily able to then like, hey, just breathe and let it go. To then have a more comfortable afternoon because I feel like, get yourself back into that harmony. So the point I'm making with this is like, listen, we can get ourselves to that perfect triangle. I do harmony, you know what I mean? The whatever that third thing was. And then it's like, but things in our life, I think could take us out of that. And I think it's recognizing when they are and how long you're out of that rhythm.
Yeah. Well.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
So, Ralph, I've only been on, I just got on, but what if it stems back to that memory that you were talking about with your mom?
Could. Like for me, that maybe that feeling goes back. And I need to work on that. But at the same time, I feel like this is an agreement. This is a conversation. I could have let it, get me to a place where I'm off to the races. But instead, it's like, I practice the don't do function. Don't go to the races, and then just kind of rethink this little situation, because, I need to think about maybe further back into my memory to really give myself, I guess, more complete. Because I think that memory might be down in the upside down pyramid, but it might not be the base one. I might have another memory because, since then I've thought about a couple of things that are just, it's odd that I remember these memories as I'm a child, but as you kind of get through them, you kind of make sense of them and you kind of relieve yourself the pressure. But it's like, it's also, if it's in your head with this type of problem solving, it was just like today was a good example for me that it's fresh in my head. You're thinking about it. It's a way of life. Call it shamanism, but I could have really just like, leave me alone. Like I could have been an ass. I could have been the dick. I could have been whatever it is. But instead it's like, what does that get you? Breathe, think about it. Don't do, and then I felt like, okay, once you get over it, you accept it, then myself, I'm back in harmony. Then I'm able to communicate, make good communications with the next person, So it's like maybe this thing in my past is probably leads back to that. And maybe I can re-dissect my best memory to kind of give myself the proper programming. But it doesn't mean we're always in harmony. You know what I'm saying? Like we can get out of harmony. It's how quick you get back into harmony. You know what I mean? That you can kind of, like it makes me think.
Say it this way, that I think it's easy to be out of harmony. It's much more um, requires effort to sometimes, maybe often. My experience is to be in harmony, and I can say that sometimes harmony requires a whole boatload or shitload of disharmony to come first before you get in harmony. Um, we talked about the B1 part, right? So
B1, yeah.
that's that's about the one. We put up the playing field description, or the playing field pictorial, graphic, geometric representation of agreement, or the things that go into agreement. We put that up several times, and B1, you'll notice, is on both sides. It's on, so both people have to be one. But harmony is on both sides too. And here's the thing about harmony: to be in harmony, you have to be one. And so I found for myself, being all righteously pissed off about things and thinking things need to be a certain way. How dare they say that? Or how dare she say that? Or, yeah, that's that is a B1 issue. But it's also a harmony issue. Those things go together. If well, how can you look over and see how Iona, your wife, thinks about things if you don't allow that to happen? And the B1 is often the place where we the kibosh or throw the monkey wrench into living in harmony. It's like, can I squeeze the tube of toothpaste from the bottom instead of the middle? Can I make the bed at, in the morning? Can I respect the house and make Maria's life easy in respecting the house? Can I respect who she is? Can I respect my law partners and who they are and what they must do? My community? On and on. Can I be in harmony with the dialogue that's taking place right now on Facebook every day? The gun-toting, freedom people who are out there protesting. I understand why they're protesting. There's not just one position on anything. Their point is we have we have liberties, we have freedom of speech. It's woven into the American, our Constitution. But then, we have families, and we have, the need to be safe, and, that what we do affects other people. Those are two different ways of looking at them. I think the harmony comes into play there, because how can I ever find an agreement if I'm all righteously indignant about my way being the only way to look at things? If I can respect Maria where she is and who she is, and man, that took that was a progression for me, to be able to change myself, my thoughts, be one, so that if I'm one, well, then you can be in harmony too. Harmony is all about the two, but you're going to have to deal with those places where you don't allow the harmony because of, your worldview being so rigidly fixed that you can only accept one way of looking at something. Like those motherfuckers, how dare them? How dare people not treat me this way or do that?
Like something else I picked up on too is like that honesty part. So today in my situation, I thought about, all right, I could be upset, you know what I'm saying, and take it that way. But when if I really said, fuck it, if I'm brutally honest with myself right now, why am I even taking it there? This is stupid. And you always know, at least look, with somebody else, you may not want to make an agreement, but with your wife or your significant other or sibling, you want to make agreement, And it's like, is this really worth it? It's like you're so honest with yourself at those points, and it's like, I don't know. It's like it really, some of these things that you talked about really fell into suit. And today was a very simple kind of way. It wasn't like an argument, but it kind of bleed into anything we do in life, and
Yep.
that's why it's fascinating.
Yeah. 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 It affects everything from the simple tube of toothpaste to being in harmony with another soul communicating with you. What are they saying? That, and everything in between those two abstractions. And besides the point, you leave your underwear on the floor, I'm sure. You probably, when you pee in the toilet, you may not always be as careful as she'd like you to be. So, what you gonna do about that? You can have a fight about it, or you can appreciate that. There's to see the beauty in what you have to respect the difference. You have to respect that everybody has a right to assemble the world as they assemble it. Now, it's pretty freaking handy to be able to assemble it more than one way, because if you're going to reach across the divide and find agreement, it ain't ever going to be your way or the highway. Has it ever been for you, Ralph, or for anybody else out there?
Never. You want to think that it is, but never. It's, what I mean? It's always an agreement. It's a two-way street every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could say to my employees, in my way, hideaway, but is it really? I mean, yeah, if they're not doing the right job, is that? But there's an agreement that needs to be made for them to produce daily. You know what I mean? So the business is at one, and it can all be in harmony. So it's funny how this is talking about person to person, but then when you put like a team of people together, harmony is very important. I know this. Productivity is based off of harmony, and if people aren't working in sync together, forget it. Then you need twice as many people to do the same job.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Who else wants to chime in harmony at this point? Let's see who we got out here. Oh, we got.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Lenore.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm really good. Really good. But with this whole harmony thing, something I had to really look at this week in particular and think about was I was putting some pretty unfair expectations on my boyfriend Colby.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept bitching because I didn't have a ring yet, and the place that I got to and the place that I realized is that, like, whether or not I have a ring doesn't mean jack about what we're actually committed to and making real together. And what that is for us is that, like, we're here, we're together, and in every sense of the word, other than having a ring and a piece of paper and all that, we're already married. Like, having that doesn't change that.
Mhm.
And it was a really big thing for me to look at and be like, wow, like, I already have these things that I'm insisting I don't have. And when I make all those demands and say, like, and just bitch at him for something that really, I mean, ultimately means nothing, it just, like, there's not a whole lot of harmony in that.
Yeah. So were you able to find a place to stand together with Colby on that? Resolve that?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah. And in the past, like, probably a couple days, we've had a lot of talks about a lot of things that we weren't able to talk about because I was so busy being caught up in this, like, one idea of I need a ring. Like, that doesn't matter. Like, it's not important. Like, it's just it's a fantasy. And I mean, sure, like, maybe someday when there's not a pandemic, we might go do that, but it doesn't change anything about, like, where it doesn't change anything about what's real within our relationship. And that was, like, a really big, like, oh wow, smacked me in the face. Actually, I was like, dang, I've been choosing a hill to die on that really isn't worth it.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Like, it's like, is this fight really worth it? Like you were saying about, like, things you could do for Maria to make life a little bit easier for her. Like, what's the harm in doing that kind of stuff, you know? Like, if you can make things easier for your partner and like do something different than how you would do it, what's the harm? And why bother fighting those things?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, um, it's because you're not going to change them anyway, and why would you want to? Uh,
No.
so, like, for me, with what you said, I think about always, like, all right, why is this important to me, or what's going on here? So if I'm going to be empathetic with what she would like, or what she's aiming for, or even what I want to make real, I have to take a kind of a flashlight or a microscope and take a look at what's going on for me, like, where, like the whole brutal honesty being the tool which releases the energy governed by empathy function. Um, I think I just heard a creature in my walls. Maria told me last night she woke up in the middle of the night and heard little footsteps, although she's described them as bigger than kind of little footsteps. So there may be some critter that's running through my walls here, which I'm going to have to investigate, maybe an access point, and figure out how to get rid of it.
You could be like Bill Murray from Caddyshack.
Yeah, I could just blow holes right through, like, the walls. Got it. Done.
I'm gonna pass by your house. It's gonna be like sticks and smoke. Like, holy shit, Ralph! I don't have a house, but I got the critter.
Yeah, exactly. These significant other relationships we're talking about are, often the proving grounds where, people first deal with, harmony issues. Being a business owner or even being in business for sure, too. Makes sense?
Makes sense. I also have a comment on who were we just talking to? Who was just talking about her fiance?
It was Lenore.
Lenore.
Lenore. So,
Yeah.
like, could this also be like an agreement between you and him? And like, I can understand the feeling behind wanting to get married, but actually the process of coming together with the other guy, just making an agreement. Maybe it's some things like, again, how the communication happens, where you guys at with this harmony. If he knows your expectations, like my example is, I was together with my wife young, so was Ken, and I knew it was important for her to get married. So you want to do the right thing at some point, because again, you want to support this person, you want to be able to see this person. So I knew it was important, no pressure, and eventually I put the ring on the finger, so did Ken, so do we all. And then I think it comes down to the pressure for the guy is like, all right, I gotta buy a ring, I gotta pay for a wedding, blah, blah, blah. There's like a whole financial like burden. So with that said, your agreement with him, if he knows it's important for you guys to get married, and the burden of thinking about it, how you're going to get married, is kind of shared, and you have solutions to that, he may be more, willing to surprise you on that special day of, pop on his knee and popping a question.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did like talk about a bunch of that stuff too, because it's like, I think this whole like the fairy tale stuff you see in the movies about it, like that's just not real. And I tried to insist that it was. And I mean, like, a big part of the reason why, like kind of how he was looking at it is like, for me, I have insurance, like my health insurance is dependent on my health insurance is dependent on my income. So at the point where we're at right now, if we were to go out and get married today and we combined our income, I would lose my health insurance. So like there's like these practical things that need to be in place before we even like go there. And it's like we gotta discuss and figure out all that crap before we have like this legal piece of paper that says that we're married. There's things that got to be discussed and talked about.
And that's exactly my point. Like, you're getting frustrated kind of in your head because, this guy's not popping the question. But look at all the other shit that goes along with, if he pops this question, you know what I mean? It's like, it changes the course of life. So again, I love how all these conversations really come down to agreement with people, how we think, how we talk. So if it's like, if the solutions are there for all these problems you have, or any situation, because I'm a firm believer that any problem has an answer. You know what I mean? And if you get an answer, there's no solution you can't solve. No problem you can't solve. So if all these I's are dotted and T's are checked and crossed, and so all of a sudden your boyfriend is feeling like shit. Hey, you know what? We can do this, and this is very important to Lenore. Then if he loves you, of course he's going to do it. It's I don't want to say it's fairy tale, but you know what? Don't rob yourself of the fairy tale. Some of it's fairy tale. The wedding, the day, you know what I mean? There's some good times to be had. Don't rob yourself of that shit. When you have kids, you're gonna be plenty robbed of it then, because then it's not about you guys anymore. But until then, it's no stress. It's like, it's all planning, agreement. No, Ken, you're longer than me.
I mean, I think what I'm saying when I say that like it's a fairy tale is just like the expectation that is what makes the relationship. That's what I mean when I'm saying a fairy tale, because like whether or not I have a ring on my finger does not change the fact that we love each other and we're committed to each other that's not changed by a ring. And that idea was like this fairy tale Disney princess thing I had in my head. That's not real. And it doesn't mean that like I would deny myself the opportunity to like have fun and all that and have a pretty day, like all that kind of stuff. It just means that I'm looking at what's real right now. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, Lenore, it helps though if you remember to check in the external reality to see what's different as a general rule. Okay,
Okay.
it's just easier, kid.
And how would one go about doing that?
Well, you go out in the world and you say, okay, I have this Hollywood fantasy about the ring and so forth, and you look around and say, okay, who's doing that? And who's doing that is the little Fressa girl, the little strawberry girl that's all got all daddy's money, and daddy trying to prove that he's rich to all his law partners. That now, she's not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
The guy's not doing that. And Lenore and Colby, they don't have those kinds of daddies or mommies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing is that the fact that they're even still together is worth its weight in gold for those two,
Mm-hmm.
where they started. So, Lenore, I'm glad as hell to hear that you're growing up here and looking at this like a grown adult person. And that's wonderful. Yeah. See, I keep telling you that you're a good person, but you don't believe me. I know you don't believe me.
I think she believes you now. Maybe.
No, she doesn't. No,
I
she's
don't
been
know.
thinking about that for years. So I know she doesn't really believe. Right? Ain't that right, kiddo?
Yeah. What do you say, Lenore?
No, I believe you, John.
No, no, you don't. No, don't tell me.
Keep going, Lenore. Don't let him browbeat you here.
No, really. I do believe you there. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point, but I do believe you there. And like I've like even just in like what I was doing today, had to have this like office room that I have, and all of like my furniture was just duct taped together. I threw it all out. And I started getting myself like nicer things because the way I was looking at myself and the things I was surrounding myself with was just like I just didn't care. I didn't care about myself enough to want to have, I didn't think I deserved to have nice things around me. And that's really changing for me. And it really feels good. like when you ask.
Okay, now I have one other question for you here.
Yes.
There's this black-haired guy that I used to know that was just pretty sure that he was worthless as tits on a bull or something.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, but he did he ever find any value? I mean, did you ever hear hear from him again? I mean, somebody told me that he had value, and I had just had trouble believing it.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what you just asked there, and
But was there? You didn't understand it, sweetie?
no, I understood.
I thought that you did. You're pretty smart. I keep telling you that, right?
Right.
I have. You're pretty smart. Have I told you that before?
You have.
Okay, because I wanted you to be sure that you knew that, because I think you're pretty smart.
I think I am too.
Yeah. That guy that you hang out with, though, I can't remember his name. He used to hang out with him. I don't know if you still do or not, but that guy, he's a really smart guy too, but he never would believe it either. Did you know that?
Yeah. I see that.
Yeah. Well, I wish that he did, because I really liked that guy whenever he showed up.
Mm-hmm.
It was true, I do.
I do too.
Yeah. Well,
I think we all do.
Yeah, I do for sure. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The
Yeah.
only time I liked him was when he showed up. The rest of the time I didn't like him. I'm really snotty, with everything anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I found him to be a quality man of substance.
Shh. Don't say things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be listening.
He might.
That, you know,
We don't want
I,
that going on then.
yeah. Look, you've seen my cards. I believe that it is sometimes the hardest thing for people to see is to see their
Mhm.
own value. It's a weird kind of thought, but I know that, I see it again and again.
Hmm.
Just these diamond in the roughs out there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of them are diamonds in the rough, and some of them are just assholes. But
Yeah.
they're not different.
Yeah. That's
I mean, it takes one to know one. That's how I
yeah.
can vouch for it. I'm in the roughest thing I've heard about. Like the asshole thing I know firsthand.
Yeah. I get that. It's all right. Um,
Well, so,
Well,
having a multitude of assemblage points is handy.
well, it is handy actually
Yeah.
because that lets you listen to it. Well, it allows you to learn how to learn.
Because why? Because if you have more than one, well, then you've got something else to try on, and trying on something else is to see how someone else sees things, and to see how someone else sees things is to learn another way to look at things, and even how you kind of looking back at the one you brought with you from childhood when you try a new one on. That's, I think, the only way to really take a peek at it and to see whether it serves you or it doesn't, and the places it might not.
Yeah. Well, that works pretty well.
Mhm.
Anybody who has the chutzpah to try it.
Yeah.
It's scary though. I don't recommend it for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Because it's too frightening.
Surely you daring the people out here to
No.
change
No, no,
about things. Yeah.
what are you saying, sir?
Yeah. They may just suffer the consequences of enjoyment of the people they're with. And what is it they say? Beauty is the perception of beauty is a moral test.
I've heard that.
Perception of beauty is a moral test.
Yeah,
How does
I
that fit in with harmony? Well, if you have one way of looking at it, your only way of looking at it, then what you look at might not be something real. It may be just your own one way of how dare her talk to me like that. Mm. I know for me that the perception of the people in my life, it's like, hell. So what's that saying? The 20-year-old guy says that he can't believe how stupid his father is, but then when he's 30, he says, I can't believe how much he's learned in 10 years.
yeah, I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it actually.
Yeah.
There's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, I'd suspect that has a lot to do with points of view and how you assemble the world to go 10 years and be able to appreciate
I'm not so
something.
sure that it's so how you assembled. Well, it is certainly, but I think it's really because you've expanded your worldview.
Hmm.
In order to take on new points of view, you have to expand what you're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a that's a good way to put it. It makes me think of being able to accommodate different things in a worldview.
Yeah, it does. It allows you to allows you a lot of freedom to do things actually.
I mean, what size worldview? It has to be somewhat large to accommodate the um, belief structure that we are souls communicating through our bodies. And so I want to hear that, or make sure that that's working for me. So bring out the best in someone else so that it works for them.
Yeah, that's certainly something that I think one should perhaps attain to, certainly. But I'm not sure that it works quite that way, because I think what actually happens is more along the lines of you bring out the best in you so that they can see it.
Yeah. Bring out the best in you so they can see it.
Well, that's how it works, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think so too. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've been considering that lately, uh, especially in things like, let's just get down to it, like in morality or in arrogance of, my way, or things have to be a certain way.
Yeah, that I see what you mean by that. And I don't know. I think that's one of the tough ones there that you're wrestling with, dude. Because
Yeah.
I think what happens is that it's difficult for folks to see sometimes, not always, but I think it's sometimes difficult for people to see how how involved what their arguments are, or how involved what they're looking at is really with well, I guess we could call it just with the structures of life itself. It really does seem like it's difficult for folks to see all those things, and so they they kind of struggle and fuss and argue with themselves about it somewhat. I think not because they're dumb or slow or anything, or even trying to be untoward. I think they have trouble seeing it. That's it.
Yeah.
If you don't have a language to talk about something, it's pretty damnably difficult to talk about it. And that, to me, that's the solution. Give folks ways to talk about these things. They're people are smart.
Yep.
They'll figure it out. Just give them a chance to do it.
Yeah. That makes uh, it, then it's one way to talk about the Office of Shaman. It's one way to talk about building a belief structure, is about having a language to accommodate.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what Ralph was referring to earlier when he was saying, okay, that I mean, he said, okay, wait a second, let me do this thing. Let me not do here. Okay.
Mhm.
So what happens is that he suspended his disbelief for a while. Really.
Yep.
In other words, he just took his disbelief and said, "Okay, I can't believe what this book is saying." And he hung that on a peg somewhere in the garage, and smoked a cigar and sat there and listened to her. And dealt with her like he not only did he believe that she existed, but believed that she had something to say.
Yep. Exactly.
And it's like, whether she did or not, he'll get he's more likely to get lucky tonight than he was last night.
By the law of percentages, that would be true.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a batting average thing,
Yeah.
wave of probability is how
Yeah.
I talk about it in terms
Yeah.
of.
And we circle back to the handy logic set, which we introduced in one of the earlier episodes. That's up on the screen now. Of you could treat things as true or false, but that's not the only way you could treat them. You can create some space to consider a whole host of things by opening up that logic set to accommodate what if it is? or maybe I'll treat it as if it's not necessarily false. Let me consider that.
There's all kinds of goodies that you can do with it once you put your into it.
Yeah.
And most of them are fun.
You know, it would seem to be a fairly essential tool in moving your assemblage point.
Yeah, that's true. Even though it's also true that there's a lot of folks just don't see shall we say the necessity of why would they want to entertain such an idea, and it's like I can see why people would be asking that question and so forth, but it on this particular instance it's really better to go ahead and try it and see if you like it rather than argue with it a lot.
Yep.
In this one, at least.
Yep, that makes sense. I think that how my effect or impact on other people in the world has lots of times, if not mostly, been something outside of my lens. You know, until I consider that. Maybe if I go about things differently, like this thing I've been thinking about lately, about being arrogant, or my way, or the highway. But going back to direct knowing, yeah, I know it's there. I did. Maybe the best thing I can say is that every there comes a time when people are ready to just let go. I mean, for me, it's I like to try to go about things differently, because I imagine that I'm probably blind in lots of ways to how I come across, or what's going on.
Everybody did. Nah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Who the fuck really wants to be told what what to do, or how to think, or to be a certain way, or they've got to do it my way? It's like, it makes me queasy to like think of all the places and ways that I've done that.
Wow. Was it fun?
Yeah, a little bit.
Didn't make you all that damn crazy.
Yeah. Maybe not so much.
Right. Sure. Okay, I got you.
Hey, how was it for you? Babe? Yeah, no. But it had that flavor. Cool.
All right.
Who else is out there in patio chat land here that wants to jump in and talk about harmony? Especially places in that would be really where you see it in your own life, where you have bumped up against it, where you're starting to see things a little differently now that you're thinking about these issues.
Hey, Ken. Hey, guys.
Hey, Bray.
Yeah, I think like that. So the one thing that happened today, I mean, now they're, talking about the harmony here. I've been dating the guy I'm dating right now. His name is David. And we've been dating for 2 years, and we just moved in together, like end of February, and then quarantine happened. It's funny how things happen like that. And for like 2 years, when people get that look on their face and it looks like they're thinking about something, and you're like, what are you thinking about?
Yes.
Well, for 2 years, he was like, I don't know, I forgot. And then, I started dealing with where I wasn't actually treating him with respect, and where I was, just blowing past what he was trying to tell me, and just being a fucking bitch. And today I saw that look across his face, like, what are you thinking? And he actually answered me. And I was like, holy shit. He's been, talking to me and sharing ideas. I mean, of course, I would go about it before as like bickering and bitching and why are you doing this? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't work, Bree. What the fuck are you doing? And
So you went at it differently.
Yeah, that whole B1 and applying that to myself so I could actually see what the fuck he was trying to tell me. I was like, huh, funny how that works.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, so it's like, instead of being, all frustrated and angry about him not doing what I wanted, it's like, maybe I just find out what he's actually trying to tell me here and pay the fuck attention.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
You could just adjust the way you go at things and get a whole different dialogue going with.
Whole different, entirely different.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, those I've bumped my head up against those places too of damn, why am I seeing the same reactions all the time? Both myself and the other side. Ooh, maybe this has something to do with me. Maybe.
Yeah, that whole you're like looking outside yourself, and then it's like, wait a minute here. Nope, that's me here. That's I have to deal with me. Not
possible. Yeah.
No.
It can't be me. No. It's gotta be them. Yeah.
Oh. But yeah, it was a really good indicator that, we're starting that the harmony is like actually working here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's keep going and see what else happens.
Yeah, I can't think of a more harmony immersive experience than starting to date someone and immediately going into COVID isolation with them for 14, 16 weeks.
Right?
I'm very, very thankful of like being, where the road I've tripped down and scraped my knees and bumped my heads over the last 7-8 years, because I can see how this period of time here is going to present some challenges to people that don't have these tools like you're talking about.
Yeah.
The divorce courts will probably have more cases.
That's what I've been reading. Yeah.
Yeah, because
you either fight for that harmony or you pack it up.
Yep.
It's really that's the only option.
Yep, I think that's right. Yep, I think in business and in relationships, people are often eager to just pack it up. But right. I think very much it's a B1 issue, because that worldview, if it only allows space for, that bitch or that bastard doesn't, get it, then you're not leaving yourself any way to even find a place where you can, resolve the issue.
Right. Yeah. For me, that was just like, well, fuck you then. Well, there you go. That's where it was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was, because I got always confused with that fight piece of it. It's like you fight for the harmony, but it's not that you're fighting with them. You're fighting for them, for the harmony. And that was the part that I kept like struggling with. And I was like, once it clicked, I was like, holy crap. Oh, wow. I've been looking at this totally ass backwards. Holy shit.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's a fighting against someone or fighting for them to be the best version of themselves.
Right. Yeah. It's like what is it that they actually need out of this communication versus what is it I want them to, or whatever it is, because that's really the way it was being approached by me.
Yeah. That's being empathetic by being brutally honest with yourself.
Yep. It's like, I have to clean house.
Yep. And then looking across at where the other person may not be expressing natural mind. and then finding ways and to, well, assist with that, to to bring out the best version of whoever you're talking to.
Yeah. It's a
Well, we
beautiful
keep the shit
thing.
out. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I really liked when you said the that whole like fight about it or you appreciate the beauty, and it's like the fight for them is in the appreciating that beauty. And I was like, wow, okay, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, I wrote down some quotes, like some of them you guys have probably heard. The first one's from Confucius. It's, the master said, "Gentlemen unite, but are not the same. Small men are all the same, but each for himself."
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. I think Terry's doing a real-time
Ooh. Hey, Terry.
update there. The master said, "Gentlemen unite, but are not the same." Yeah, that the people are not the same. They are different.
Mm-hmm.
Respect that. When I respect that for me and for who I'm talking to, that is where you find the agreement, where you find the harmony. Here's another one from Rumi. Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Now, that kind of says it, right? What the hell is right and wrong anyway?
Yeah, just dichotomies.
Get beyond that. We'll meet you in the field where we leave those rights and wrongs behind us.
Yep.
Here's another one from Alan Watts. For to say that opposites are polar is to say much more than that they are far apart. It is to say that they are related and joined, that they are the terms ends or extremities of a single whole. Polar opposites are therefore inseparable, like the poles of the earth, or of a magnet, or of the ends of a stick, or the faces of a coin.
There's no dichotomy in that?
It would seem maybe that there is, but I don't think so. How about this one? This is from, I'm going to get her last name right. I think it's Helen Luke. Said, you have to separate in order to unite, because uniting means two unique things that meet. Two unique things that meet, not two fuzzy things that merge. I think one way I see people do relationships is fuzzy things that try to merge.
That's a death knell.
That's a death, right? Yep.
If he's trying to make her happy and she's trying to do it because he said they're they're divorced that hasn't agreed on timing.
Yeah, that's a matter of timing.
Yeah, that's it. They just haven't gotten the appointment yet, but it's on its way.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that can be sustained there. Because what they're hearing is feedback loops to themselves. That's what Lenore was talking about earlier, because she wasn't talking with Colby. What she was doing is that she was talking to herself. Okay, and so she had a conversation. I didn't make any difference what Colby had to say about it. She already knew what the questions and answers were, and she knew by gollies how that script was going to play out, and it did every time, because that's how she heard it. And of course, Colby was in the same predicament, and he let it run out. He had to listen to it run out the same way every time too. And so when she did something different, and she not she went into the not doing of bitching at him and said, okay, let me not bitch at him, let me listen to him. Then all of a sudden what she's got is she's got a separation, not a fuzzy joining.
Yeah. That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Two unique items, two unique individuals, you know, and they are. They're about as unique as, well, any other two unique individuals, I suppose.
Yeah.
If there's three of them, they make a pair, you know.
So we're in this this I don't know what do you call it? We're in a like war, you know, this COVID thing. And the stakes are high. I mean, you know, it could not seem more polarized if, you know, you just follow what's out there.
Wait a second, Ken. On that issue, how do you win a war with a liar?
I think it's just pure defeat. It's exposed for what that is. I don't, yeah.
Given enough, you give it enough weight, it'll fall by its own weight, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to do anything to defeat a liar. They're already defeated. I mean, you know, it isn't the politics that offends you. What offends you is the lack of empathy,
Mhm.
the incompleteness of the human being. See, you can't agree with that, actually, not if you're honest with yourself. You can agree with that if you look the other way and say, okay, but he's making me money. But you can't agree with that if you're honest with yourself and you're empathetic with the people he does too. Like, for instance, now, I mean, really, you're going to sacrifice how many people on the altar of Wall Street? Really?
Yeah.
There's nothing morally inept in that, is there?
I think there is.
Then there's not much beauty there. I think if the perception of beauty is a moral perception is a moral exercise, can he not see the beauty in what's going on? I mean, can he not see where the beauty is and where the ugly is? Does he always get it wrong? Does that indicate a lack of morality because he never sees the beauty? See,
Perception, yeah. 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 It does.
that was the offensive part of grab him by the pussy. There was no respect for the beauty of the feminine form.
Yeah.
That's what was offensive.
Yeah.
Was it morally wrong? Nah, who gives a shit? You know, I don't care whether it's morally wrong or not. Okay, what I give a shit about is that there was a lack of respect for human beings, because that's offensive and that cannot be sustained, because nobody can agree to that, really. There cannot be harmony in that thought or in that structure, that belief structure can't exist, because it rules out pretty much by design any empathy function at all. Okay. It's not sustainable, is my point of view. But let's see.
No. Pardon? Yeah.
Well, maybe, let's see. I don't think so. I doubt that it can be sustained.
I don't see it either. I mean, I think that we're at almost you know, an inflection point of this issue becoming more pronounced than I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that these kinds of ideas cannot be sustained in terms of an agreement. So that means that something will break, but that something that break is the something that needs to break to make this a harmonious whole again.
Yeah.
It must be something pretty strong if 85,000 deaths aren't enough to get anybody's attention yet.
Yep.
Wonder what the magic numbers will be.
I don't know.
It'd be higher than what it is now, I'll bet, huh?
I'd say for sure, maybe by a factor of 2 or 3 even.
Well, at what point do we say, wait a second here? That was enough.
Yeah, maybe we ought to take a look at
Maybe
where we're headed here.
Maybe we can throw the pooch here a little bit or something. Let's stop and consider here before that thing comes and visits my house. I don't want it in my house.
Yep.
Now,
It was a that's what on Facebook or YouTube today. They were interviewing this guy, and he was like, "No, we got to let people out and do their thing." And they were like, "Well, what about that? You being out affect other people, and they then bring it to their house, and so on and so forth." And he was like, "Well, we got to accept the fact that there is going to be deaths." And then I think the person asked him, "Well, how many deaths is too many deaths?" And he said, he made up a number. He said, 10. I don't know why he said 10. He said 10, but his family was standing right there. And they're like, "Well, those 10? And they panned the camera over from him to 10 of his family members standing there. And literally his daughter like runs over and's like, gives him a hug, "Dad." And he's like, "No, I don't think so anymore."
Please
I'm
don't
not sure.
camera.
Yeah.
Not
I'll shut my mouth.
They may think that I'm the one that needs to, the one of the 10 that need to go there. They may take a different vote.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's where the ridiculousness of it comes in, because what you're saying is that if that's the case, then it doesn't make any difference that those people die. They're dying for the good of the whole, is what the attitude is.
Mm.
Well, is that really okay? I mean, is there beauty in that?
No.
Is that, well, see, I look at that and I don't see much beauty there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so to perceive beauty is a moral issue, and I don't see any beauty there at all. I see some beauty in protecting those people as much as possible.
Yeah.
We can't go back and undo the errors, but we can do better from here on out.
Yeah.
We know better.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
we shouldn't be arguing about taking care of our neighbors, because who knows, they may have to take care of us.
That's right. And from there, we can find agreements to accommodate, doing business and keeping each other safe.
Okay, so if you examine that for just a second, the only way that happens is that if both sides changed their assemblage points, they moved them. The guy who's over on the extreme right is saying, there's, blood and land and all that kind of stuff. That's a stupid place. The guy that's saying, okay, I want reparations, that's a stupid place. Now, somewhere in between there's an actual agreement that can accommodate what people actually have to have. Are we going to have to go to Civil War II in order to get that done? Really? I don't think so. But I know that there are lots of people who think that they're bulletproof and would like to think that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, I think that those are goofy people, but if that's what they think is true, then they ought to go out and fight somebody who wants to fight with them. I don't know if there's anybody who wants to fight with them, is the thing. They're free to carry their guns around and spit on people if they want to, I guess. I don't know that that's going to accomplish anything much, other than to prove that they're goofies. That really, that's your claim to fame, is that you can go down to the state capitol with a gun hanging on your chest and spit in the face of a cop that's just doing his frickin' job? And that's proving that you're what? Free?
Yep.
Okay. Really? If that's freedom, Jesus, what does slavery look like to you? Because it looks like you're pretty slave to that thought. But that's just me, maybe. Okay, I got it. You know, I don't walk in your boots, so maybe that is freedom for you. And if it is, okay, I got it.
Well, we heard from Ralph and Lenore and Bree talk about places where they adjusted how they think about things to find a place to appreciate people important in their lives. That's what we're talking about here. Where else is the agreement going to be if we don't learn that skill set? It ain't ever going to be in my way or the highway. Never will. All right. Any parting thoughts or comments before we call it a wrap? How about then we reconvene on Monday at 8 p.m.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Good night, guys.
Good night. Have a good
Night.
weekend.
Thanks. Night.